All right, guys, it's time to get in some tier lists, though. It's time to get in some tier lists. Would I let them crash on my couch? All right, so of course S tier has got to be Mapek because I would let him crash on my house.
On your house?
I mean, on my couch. I'd let him crash on my couch. Clownpierce? I'd let Clownpierce crash my couch. I think Clownpierce would be extremely respectful if he was
True.
if I'd let him crash my couch. Mr. Cube would also be, dude. We're gonna get too many respectful people, except we're probably not. Okay, Mr. Cube, I would let crash my couch. He would also be extremely respectful. He'd be so nice. He'd be awesome. Woogie? I don't know about that. You know, so I have some, unfortunately, well, okay. What is Woogie? Has Woogie done I think that Woogie would just I don't think he'd be the worst house guest, but I don't think he'd be the best. I think he'd be a solid B tier house guest. I think he'd be nice, but he would leave the dirty dishes on the table. He would not put them on I don't think he would stain it brown. I think that's a little extreme, but I don't think he'd be the best. So Subs is an interesting one, I think. Because I think you just never see him. I think you let him crash on your couch. He's under the cushions. Now, I just think that's just vulgar for no reason, Spoke. But then, no, it's fine. So I think, Subs would be nice, I guess, in that you just wouldn't even notice him. He wouldn't leave his house to crash on mine. Now, that's true. That's true. I don't think he'd be in a situation to crash on my couch. But I think he'd be a solid A tier couch crasher. Crouch crasher. Pangy? Huh. Would I let Pangy crash on my couch? I think I would have to let Pangy crash on my couch. I feel like you'd have to let Pangy crash on the couch. The Mapek, it's unfortunately really large. To move it a little bit. So I can get more S tiers in here. Alright, yeah. You need to get this exact situation down. Are they desperately in need of a couch, or are they just wanting to hang out? No, they're in need of a couch. If I'd let Pangy crash on my couch. So Parrot, honestly, we'd argue a lot if he were to crash on my couch. And also, so he has a history of, I don't know if anybody remembers, when Parrot went to Woogie's house and scheduled a restart of his computer.
True.
He either
He's gonna use it to sabotage.
Yeah, I feel like he would use it to sabotage. Parrot would need a lot of pillows. I agree. I feel like Parrot would bite you. You're the second person to try and to say that people would. So would Zam yet? Yeah, we haven't gotten to Zam yet though. I think he maybe got Vortex to do it for him, but he organized it. It was his idea. So that's why I think he'd be a D tier house guest, because I just don't trust him, you know? Planetlord? You think, should I let you crash on my couch?
Yes, please.
You're very respectful at Pangy's household. You just like to make that very clear. You weren't that respectful, though. Okay, you know what? Let's talk about Zam. So, Zam, you weren't that respectful because you stole 10 of his hearts and gave them to Rochambeau while on his computer. I don't think we can forget about that.
Oh.
You were borderline going to scrap the whole video because you were scared you'd be bad. Well, I'm glad you went through with it, but you weren't that respectful. So you stole 6? Well, okay. But I mean, at least he didn't schedule his computer to crash. I think he'd be a C tier house guest just because of that. Other than that, I think he'd be pretty good. But I would be a little scared of him stealing hearts. You would see a whole different side of Prince Zam if you knew. No, I believe that you would. I believe Zam can turn on the charm for the parents. I believe that mothers love Prince Zam. Zam would be a nightmare to live with. Honestly, I think he'd be very respectful. But he would steal the hearts. Planetlord. I feel like if he was crashing on my couch, we would argue a lot too, unfortunately.
No. Nuh-uh.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, we do never. Yeah. Zam would be huddled
When
up
have
at
I
TV.
ever argued with you? Give me one example.
No, okay, you know what? I just can't think of any. Can I put you in an S tier? Should I put?
You know me, so there's no way you wouldn't.
Okay, I'd have to let Planetlord crash on my couch.
Yes.
Dude, the Mapek couch is. I have to continue making it smaller as more and more Lifesteal members are put in the S tier. You ate 0 food at the Pangy house, and you see that's just not necessary. That's not
necessary.
Yeah. I would put Zam in a blender. No, that's agreeable. Pofa, he'd be a pretty good house guest. I think he'd be a pretty good house guest. I think he'd do his best. I'd put him at A tier, I think. I think Radoons wouldn't want to crash on anyone's house. Or on anyone's couch. I don't think Radoons would ever... I think Radoons would go to drastic measures.
I think Radoons would be a lovely guest.
I think he would. But he goes on your PC and DMs people. That's true. Whenever Pova's at Mapic's house, who does he DM? Something.
That's true. He does do that a lot.
What's the one thing he always DMs? What's the one thing he always DMs?
I don't know.
It's bad. Okay, you know what? Pofa's a D house guest because of that. Yeah. No, that's true. Please put Pofa at the bottom. He DMs Radoons, hey dad. Yeah, okay, you know what? That's F tier, actually. That's F tier. Yeah, never mind. Never mind. Every single time. Have I met any live streamers IRL? Yeah, I've met a few of them at VidCon.
Yeah, me.
No, we haven't met.
Cap.
Radoons, I think Radoons would hate the idea of crashing on anyone's couch. I think he'd rather sleep on the street before crash on a couch. I think he'd be a good house guest, so I would let him. But he wouldn't be happy about it. But he'd be very polite. I also believe that Radoons can charm mothers. I'll put him at A tier. Rekrap would be an amazing house guest. Rekrap would do the dishes. Okay, we need to move this to it. It's gonna slowly get smaller and less misshapen.
No.
Radoons would be a great house guest. Terrain. Terrain would also be a good house guest, but he would judge me heavily, I think, if he were to crash on my couch. I think he would just, basically everything he owned, he would just, he'd just aggressively judge it, I think.
Yeah. I don't know, though.
So I put him in B tier, I think, because I think he'd be really mean to me about just everything I owned. Vitality would be a great house guest. I believe that Vitality would just be an amazing house guest, and he would help out with everything.
Yeah.
Why is Printer so low? Because he stole hearts from Pangy. He has history. Jaren? Okay, so Jaren, I think, would be an okay house guest, but he's a little, you know, he did go to Rekrap's house, and while Rekrap was just watching Dream,
dude, why did he do that?
He stole his netherite armor. So,
okay,
that puts you down. That puts
you down. I think anyone who, does stuff on other people's computers, an instant down.
Yeah. I think he's a little bit mischievous. I also believe guys, every time I log on to Lifesteal, there's more chickens in my trap warehouse. Every single time. And so I think he'd put worms in them or something in real life.
Dude, true.
He was watching Dream but not Korean. Yeah, I don't actually think that Rekrap likes watching Dream. I think Jaren thought it'd be funny. But yeah, sorry, you shouldn't be watching Dream's POV of MCC. That's crazy. Baked. Would Baked be a good house guest?
What do you think?
I don't know.
I think yeah, probably.
No, he's British. Okay, we'll put him at C tier because of he's just
okay, he's just British.
Is this season 4 or just in general? This is whether I'd let them crash on my couch. So, yeah.
It's been more real life stuff than Minecraft stuff so far.
What does being British have to do with it? Oh, caught the British. Ashwag. I also feel like Ashwag would judge everything I owned heavily. So, I think that for that, I'd put him in B tier, but I do think he'd be very respectful and another mother charmer, I would imagine. Leowook, S tier. Dude, Leowook would be so polite at other people's houses. I believe.
Yeah.
Ash is actually the only Lifestealer you'd let stay on your couch. I mean, I'd let him, but he'd be mean about it, you know?
No, he wouldn't.
I think he would be. Vortex
Maybe
Dragon?
To you.
Okay, Vortex Dragon worked with Parrot with the Woogie thing, I think. I think he worked with Parrot. With the shutting off Woogie's computer. And so for that's got to move him down a couple tiers. As in, I'd invite him but resent him for taking you up on the offer? No. Well, I think Ashwag would just be mean to me in general. Ashwag is short? No, he's tall. Vortex Dragon, so I'd have to put him in B. Me, I'd let. I'm a good house guest actually. I'm a nice guy, you know. I'm a good house guest. So yeah, we'll put. Dude, I keep having to make this. Dude, we're all such good house guests. There's nothing we can do about it.
I know.
Clutch,
So
yeah,
it's gonna
okay.
be squished.
Clutch would be very nice, but he would also break something. You know, at VidCon, we were at the pool and he like slipped and fell in, and he almost like cracked his head on the pool. He didn't, luckily, but yeah, he would break something. So like it's C for that, but like he'd be very respectful, I bet. Mid Mystic, I would let Mid Mystics crash on my couch, but I think she's like nocturnal. So that might be a little bit worrying.
True.
His head was bleeding though. Okay, he did crack his head. You like to say you're upset you're C. It's just that you stole the hearts, man. I think that mid would be good, except like she does scream loudly and she does stay up very late. Her sleep schedule is bad. So I think for that I'd have to put her in B tier. So I think that'd be an issue. Spoke. I think Spoke. Well, okay, me and Spoke, we were in a hotel room at VidCon, and it was not bad. It was not bad, actually. It was quite fine. So I think I'd have to let him on my couch. Yeah, die. Pop in Frogger sleeps. Please be less annoying. Man, this map is just gonna keep getting smaller, huh? Alright, yeah. So Spoke, I actually have to say, from experience, he's good. He's good if you're like, yeah, he's a good house guest. Branzy, I think Branzy would be taking bottom left dog. No, I think this is funnier. Branzy, Spoke beat you at TwitchCon. You probably deserved it. I think Branzy, he's just a little old, you know? Like, he has a family. And would his family have to also stay on my couch? I can't have that happen. Like, I could take maybe one, but I can't take his wife and kids, you know? He would also need space for his walkers. And medications. Okay, Rochambeau would... I don't know if I could do that with Rochambeau. I'm sorry. I don't know if he could crash on my couch.
Poopy.
Yeah, I just feel like he would just say poop a lot. Rochambeau can't fit on the couch. He's too tall. That's true. He's a little tall. I wouldn't necessarily trust Rochambeau. It might not be the best. He does the 3 a.m. cabbage and cheese challenge. What the hell is the cabbage and cheese challenge? He also helped. Yeah, that's true. He was an accomplice in the heart stealing area. So I think for that we have to put him at C tier.
True, he
You
supported
would have to
that.
surveil Rochambeau the entire time. What tier list is this? This is if I would let them crash on their couch. And Spectacle. I'd let Spectacle crash on my couch. Alright guys, this is the official would I let them crash on my couch tier list. Feel free to screenshot.